Hello, everybody. Trevor Hodge here, and today I'm going to go over the things that have moved the needle the most for me, health and fitness wise. And I wish I would have known them sooner. And the first thing is cycling your carbohydrates. All right. Now, that's not to say I don't cycle other macronutrients, such as my healthy fats and proteins, but specifically with cycling your carbs. Now, with that, it's going to allow you to stay leaner while continuing to build muscle, get strong, versus if you was in a fat loss phase trying to lose weight, get lean, get ripped, that sort of thing. Eating less carbs on your rest days, right? And even timing your carbs around your workouts, where they're definitely not going to store as fat and much more likely to go to the muscle to be used as fuel, right? Now, something with that is you got to be tracking your macros, all of those foods, to figure out where you need to take away from and whatnot. But basically, it's pretty applicable for most goals, whether you're trying to maintain weight, you're trying to build muscle, gain weight, get stronger, or like I said, get lean, um, or even get shredded. It's probably one of the most effective strategies for bodybuilding and competition prep. And that's why the top coaches that work with professional athletes utilize it as well. Now, where I was messing up was I would pretty much just eat the same thing every day, regardless if it was a rest day or not. And that allowed me to put on weight, get stronger, see progress in the gym, and that sort of thing. But after a while, I started to accumulate a lot of body fat because I was eating in too much of a surplus. So that's something I wish I would have tweaked a lot sooner. Because I have been working out consistently since about 2011, you know. But this was something I didn't implement until about 2022, 2021, about 3, 4 years ago. And it's by far been a huge game changer for me. So, what I would recommend for you to be able to get the most out of your workouts while staying lean is to time your carbohydrates around your physical activity or your training sessions, or just simply eating carbs earlier in the day when insulin sensitivity is at its highest. That's a fancy word for saying how well your body absorbs carbohydrates, get glucose out of the bloodstream, so on and so forth, without getting too scientific and whatnot on it. Now, the next thing I would have done sooner is like really work on digestion and optimize gut health, because so many metabolic functions stem from your stomach and your gut and whatnot. They say about 70% of your immune system is actually in your stomach. It's like your second brain in a sense. So digestion, you want to definitely, basically what you want to do is you want to not eat foods. Sorry, diet brain right now. But basically, you don't want to be eating foods that are going to bloat you and cause inflammation, right? Because that just makes it harder for your body to absorb nutrients. So that's the first thing, is eliminating foods or anything that causes bloating. Another thing you can do is eliminate carbonated drinks and even caffeine to some extent, because caffeine's hard on the stomach lining. So there's that. And then also going on walks after your largest meals. That really helps the digestion process. And it's a good way to get sunlight for hormonal health and whatnot. And there's actually studies to show that going on a 10-minute walk after your largest meals will lower blood sugars, decrease blood pressure, decrease lower back pain, and can be just good for overall health, you know. Plus, I like to go on a walk in the evening. It just seems kind of relaxing, you know. I'm a simple man, it works for me. So, the last thing on here is cardiovascular work. So, cardio, a lot of people don't like doing cardio because I get it. It can be monotonous and boring. You're sitting on a stationary equipment for 20, 30, 40 minutes, an hour maybe if you're really hitting it hard. But, you know, our cardiovascular health is nothing to be not take seriously, basically. You know, your heart and lungs, your heart is what keeps you alive, pumps your blood to the rest of your body. It's very important. Um, and it's also going to help your lifting performance for physical activity as well. You'll recover quicker between sets because your lungs will be conditioned and all this. Your heart rate variability will be much more efficient. And as far as how I would implement cardio into someone that I'm working with or like some of my clients, if we're not doing any at all, I simply start by implementing those 10-minute walks once or twice a day after their largest meals, right? And then the next progression would be to add actual cardio. When I say actual cardio, I mean getting your heart rate into at least type 2 zone, where you're somewhat breaking a sweat, but you're not quite like sprinting, you know, keeping that heart rate between like 110, 130, depending on your age and experience and how good a shape you're in. And then, you know, you can work it up and whatnot. But where I was going wrong when I was younger is I just never really did cardio other than moving around or being physical at my job. I was under the impression that cardio bad, can't gain weight or put on muscle while doing cardio. Well, let me tell you, that's far from the truth. Doing cardio will allow you to stay lean and build more muscles, right? And actually, by getting the blood pumping around and whatnot, especially in like your quads and your legs when soreness is lingering, it's going to help speed up that recovery process. So it can actually be magical if implemented correctly. I think the best way to go about overall energy expenditure and cardiovascular work is to balance it out between your, let's say, step count, because that has to do with your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, basically how much energy you're burning throughout the day, right? So you combine that with a little bit of cardio, and then that'll kind of balance out along with your diet and how much food you're taking in. And then you just make adjustments from there depending on what your goals are, right? So, yeah, let's see. That was the big three hitters that I wanted to go over. Like I said, those have been the biggest needle movers for myself that have made the hugest difference in my overall fitness, but also allowing me to, um, you know, put on more muscle and then stay lean. And then, as of the last 3 months, really working on a hardcore cut where I'm trying to get shredded, right? So, yeah, implement these, you know, take what you can from them. And I guarantee if you do these right and you come at it with an approach to get healthier, it will help your actual performance in and outside of the gym, right? So, yep, that's pretty much everything I got there, guys and gals. Appreciate you following along. And yeah, take care, everybody. Remember, keep training hard.